there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter, and today we're going to take a look at the Dollar Tree watercolors and see how they are. This is, I had seen these. It never occurred to me to purchase them until a viewer asked me if I would review them. And I figured, for $1, why not? Why not? I could definitely take one for the team here and give it a try. So the colors that are here are red. And it looks like a fairly neutral, maybe slightly more leaning red. We've got a yellow. It looks like a pretty mid-tone yellow. These are also called tempera. The package says tempera watercolors, and then on the bottles it says, or on the tubes rather, it says tempera paint. Now they are metal tubes, which is kind of impressive. This looks like a kind of a cerulean blue, actually. Kind of like a sky blue. So I'm kind of concerned that all of these three look very opaque so far. I thought this was coming with a gray, and I was like, oh, a gray, why would they put a gray? But actually, I did take the cap off, and it's white. So that's interesting. Now this seems a little bit thicker than tempera paint that I've used. Of course, I've only used like Prang tempera and the tempera that they had us use when I was in high school. And there's a black. No binder separation. I'm really surprised at that. Like, cause usually like cheaper paints, you'll get that kind of squish of like bubbly binder. Oh my gosh, there's no smell. Oh, guys, I thought these might reek like certain other like cheap watercolors I've used. It might not be that bad. Okay, I know, I'm trying to keep a very open mind here. Actually, I'm always just curious, and I'm nosy, and I love to see what's, I'm just curious about stuff, so we're gonna just see how this is. I've got a, probably don't need to brush this big, but this is a number 16. Mimic Kolinsky. So Mimic has the squirrel brushes, which is what I usually use. They're softer. These are the faux Kolinskys are a little bit firmer. They're meant to mimic the like Kolinsky fur brushes. So they're also a little bit more expensive. So just depends on what you like. So what I'm going to do is just add some water here and see how it dilutes out. Not too bad. It almost looks like a naphthol red here. Alright, so I'm going to paint my first... Gosh, that's not a bad color. It's really not. I'm not going to go right out to the edges because I do want to leave a little bit of space so that I don't leak into the next color. Now, let's maybe take a little bit of the color, a little bit more mass tone here. Let me just do a little swipe of the mass tone. Guys... Of course, we haven't seen it dry down, but this might not be that bad. Huh. Nice. All right, so the next, and I could just do a little bit of a little swatch here on there. I'll clean my brush. The next color we'll swatch out will be yellow. I usually don't do first impressions videos, but probably I can do a serious review on these because I don't think it's really fair to review a $1 product. But if it's between this and some of those, like, hey, this isn't bad. If it's between this and like a set of the little pink cakes, which are really weak, let's do one a little bit more watery. Up here, we'll just do this one a little more diluted. No issues diluting it down. Wait a minute. I've like completely forgotten how to do a color chart. Oh my god. Okay, hold on. You know what? We'd have red, we'd have yellow would be in the middle. Good Lord. Trying to think and do anything else at the same time. Okay, so I will need to mix red and yellow. Good Lord. Save me from myself, will you? Alright, let's mix those. Don't mind me. So what I'll do is I'll have one that's a little bit more red and a little bit more yellow. So that's a nice orange. It's kind of more of a peach color. All right, good Lord. All right, let's get the blue here. You guys always like, how come you don't film the swatching? This is why. I'm not that coherent when I'm doing this sort of thing. So what I'm doing here is just kind of making sure I have enough water in there and I don't have any globs. I don't know how these would dry out in pans. I wouldn't expect much, especially because tempera is a little bit more like gouache. This one's got some filler in it, I can just feel it. It's got that kind of like gelatinous color. Alright, so, because that's where blue and blue would meet, so that's where you get the dark, this like straight blue. This blue is kind of weak, that's going to be an issue for mixing. And you can see how it kind of wants to streak a little bit. It's because of the fillers. So I'm going to go ahead and mix some of that blue with some of the other colors. Let's do a little blue and red. See if we can get a decent purple. I am now holding out hope for a decent purple because it's a very, it's kind of a weak blue that kind of leans green. And then we've got red that is almost a little bit on the warm side. So, ooh, that red is so much stronger than the blue. I'm going to grab a little bit more blue. Let's see that one here. Makes kind of a gray lavender color, which isn't too bad. So you really only have to do half of a chart, really, to get all the mixes. But what I do here is I usually either have one with more of one color and one with, you know, this one might have more red and the other one might have more blue, just to make the swatches a little bit different. Or you could do one that's got more water, so it's a little bit, weaker. That's kind of a pretty color. And then we could do the blue with the yellow. Let's just grab the yellow first. Oops, making a mess here. Oh, the green's okay. I can do a little bit more blue. Both of those colors, well, I think the yellow is actually a little bit stronger than that blue. I mean, I'm not going to be too picky for $1. Alright, let's take a look at the, black. I'll do the white last, because I'll need to mix that with each color. Oh shoot, and I put it in the wrong side. Well, you know what, this will be the black. We'll make the white the last column. Let's cross that out. That looks like it might be alright, so I will not be saving the swatch chart, I don't think, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, and then we'll need to do black with each color. I typically don't do these charts. Oh, I wonder if we'll get an interesting green if we do black and yellow, because sometimes that happens. Let's see. So black and yellow. That's kind of a olivey, greenish, yellowy color. Doing it a little bit more black. You can almost do like, you could do the black and the yellow for as a grisaille painting. It'd probably lift up pretty bad though if you tried to do any lifting. Let's do the black and blue. I need to wipe out a little space to do that. That blue is going quick because it's very weak. Oh, that's actually a real pretty color, the black and the blue together. It's like a nice gray. And then we'll do a little bit more black. That's a pretty gray though. Looks like it might have some nice texture to it. If you diluted it out, it looks like it's got some interesting granulation. Oh good lord, I didn't do that right. That should have been, let's scrub that out. That should be black and red there and there. This should just be the plain black over here. It's been a while, guys. Well, let me just grab some red then and add it to that swatch. It lifted up really easily, no surprise there. Just mix it right in on the square. That's kind of pretty. I think the colors mixed with black might be the winner. Those might be the best colors, because it'll give it a little bit of a moodiness. Alright, so now I'm just going to erase where I said black and write white there. It's been a long day. Actually, it hasn't. I don't even know why. I said that. Okay, so what I think I'll do here for the white is actually just put a swatch of white in each square and then add the color to it. That way I can just clean my brush in between each color. Okay, so let's do with red. We'll just do a little touch of red. I'll add it to one and then I'll go add it to the other so that the second one will have less of the color in it. So it'll just give us a little bit of a difference. You know, the colors are not terribly muddy. You know, it's not hard to get color. The white's not very strong. Seemingly, in mixing anyway, maybe it'll work as highlights, but I feel it does seem like the colors, well, except for this blue, are much stronger. I'm not sure if they intended this paint to be used more as a like a gouache, because tempera often is used as a gouache, or if it's meant to be used more like a watercolor. I'm not sure. Well, there's our color chart. You know, it's not terrible. Now let's see how a wash would go. I'm just going to wet the remaining area of the paper here, and I'm going to add some color to it and see how the colors flow, what they do. See if these paints are worth anything. Well, they're probably worth $1. It's probably what they're worth. Now I was really impressed with the red, so I'm going to start with the red and just drip that in and see what we get. Got a little bit of flow there. Let's try the yellow. That's probably my next hopeful color. I feel like the yellow is pretty decent, and I feel like the red is pretty decent. I mean, they are kind of a streaky mess over there. We'll try some blue, which I do not have high hopes for, but let's just get all the clumps out and be interesting to see how it dries. And then black, I actually think black will do all right. Ooh, got big clumps on my brush though. Yeah, the black seems to be pretty pigmented. I can dilute it quite a bit and still have, you know, color there, so it does want to flow. I'm curious about the granulation on it. Of course, there's no pigment information. You wouldn't expect that on a $1 product. You know, they're not as bad as I thought they would be. So I think what I'm going to do is figure out what I want to paint, and then we can do a little painting together and see how these paints hold up. See how they do. Okay, I'm nervous. I'm nervous to paint with these paints. So this is the dried swatches. Honestly, the ones where I really like added the water to it because the black was in there and I could get the range of values, I liked. So I think I'll be using the black as probably one of my most useful colors here. I'm not hating what happened over here where I had everything really diluted. The blues are going to be really weak, so rather than doing like a landscape, which would be kind of what I would do with a budget paint, I'm going to do a floral bouquet. And I'm going to mostly be kind of making this up, but I did find a wedding bouquet on Unsplash, just a woman holding this bouquet, and I just liked how it had some kind of like loose wildflower look to it. So so that's what I'm gonna try for. That's what I'm gonna go for. And I'm gonna start off by taking the mix that I did with the red and the blue. There's this really kind of a watery pale kind of mauve color. It's very great. Everything here is gonna be very dull, like kind of grayed, but I think I can use that to my advantage. So I'm gonna start by kind of painting. I don't know if this is maybe like a coreopsis or something. It's got a little bit of a, like, the edges of the petals are kind of pinked. So I'm just using my brush to kind of just get that in there. Add a little bit more of the pink into my mix and add that into some of the colors. There isn't a lot of flow here because of the fillers in the paint, which if it is a tempera, that's not really that not that surprising. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of the yellow. There's no brown here, so if I want anything brown, I'm going to have to mix. So I'm going to do a little bit of green and some red. Mix with 3 primaries. Oh, look at that. I'm getting a decent brown there. I'll dab some of that in there. I find like if your paint is not the best quality, you can get by with a little bit of a looser technique. Now, I kind of would like to have a little bit of a stronger effect. I'm going to try mixing up a little bit thicker of the blue and red. And going in with a smaller brush, so maybe I can go in with a little bit less water. I bet this paint would be pretty good if and I think that's probably why they give you tempera paint when you're a kid. I bet this would actually be all right on, say, like a drawing paper. That was kind of a blob, but I'm actually not hating it, so I'm going to see what it does when it dries, so I think I'm going to leave it. Now let's see. I'm really limited to the colors that I have here. I think I'm just going to go in with some blue, actually. Let's see if I can just do maybe... Oh, let's see. Maybe just do some spiky blue flowers there, maybe some over here. This isn't going to be anything like my reference photo, so I probably won't even link it up. I just kind of looking at it for a little bit of guidance as far as balance. Maybe just do like maybe a little bit of a blue flower there. I don't know, guys. Get a little bit of yellow centering, get this one, a little bit of yellow spark in there. I think the key is going to be not to overwork it. Alright, I'm going to go in with a liner. And I mixed up some green. The yellow, just yellow and blue. I would not recommend over mixing any of this because the colors are going to be muted as it is. So I'm just giving the bouquet a little bit of an end there. Then I think I'll actually try to do like a maybe like a little bit of a tie on the bouquet. It's actually kind of fun because it's like, well, the paper's not the most expensive paper, and the paints certainly are not the most expensive paint, so I don't really have to worry about wasting. I wouldn't go and use these on cotton watercolor paper because, I mean, they're probably going to fade. They're not... There's too little bow. They're not, you know, the best quality. This is definitely just to have fun with it. Now, sometimes with paints like this, I'll say, give it to the kids, let them play with it, but I don't see anything about these being non-toxic. It actually says non-toxic here, so, I mean, it has no smell. It says non-toxic. Well, maybe it'd be fine. Well, I guess you'd have to use your judgment there. So there are some pretty leaves on the bouquet that I'm looking at, and they're just like, almost like those silver dollar flowers, you know, they've got those really big round, almost like eucalyptus leaves. When you thin down the paint, you do get a very patchy look. But, you know, I don't hate it. I think it is kind of like soft and pretty. And you'd have some sideways, some like leaves you'd see from the edge. It wouldn't be completely round looking. Maybe we do some that are a little bit more grayed. Like the back side of the leaves sometimes have like more of a, they'll be more gray, or they'll just have a different bit of a look to them. So we can get some of those in there as well. Stuff like this is fun. It's kind of like what, like if I would do, sometimes I do face painting at the local schools' fairs, you know, before the pandemic, and, you know, there'd be some, like, quiet time, you're waiting for customers, or, you know, you're coming up with ideas for what you can paint on faces, and you might just have some time, and, you know, you'll doodle, or whatever. This is what it reminds me of, because we'd always have tempera paint for that. Now, I'm going to go back to the liner. And I'm going to do little stems for our little leaves. This little dish there's from the Dollar Tree. I love those little trinket trays for mixing paint, those little ceramic ones. I have one that's shaped like a feather that's great for watercolor crayons because you can scribble off the pigment really easily. They still have those. They had a bunch of those last time at several stores that I was just at this week, and I got mine like last year, so they've been around a while. I just think people don't know what to buy them for. I think I'm gonna do some spattering. I think, I think I'll spatter the purple actually, because I like that color. I think it's probably one of the best mixes. Is that purple? I want to have something there. Maybe just a yellow flower. Or maybe a coral flower. Let's get in a little bit of that coral color. I like that coral. I haven't used it anywhere. Let me do a few. I don't know what they would be. Chrysanthemums, maybe? I don't know. Maybe we'll do some splattering of that as well. I might go in with some ink, you know what? Or you know what? I think after this dries, I might go in with some watered down black, the black paint, and line it a little bit. Do a little bit of yellow splatter on its own too. I think that might be pretty. You really can't make something discordant because you don't have enough colors to. I didn't use any white. That's the only color I didn't use here. Hopefully I didn't splatter the camera. Alright, so let's let this dry. I think I'm going to let it dry naturally because often your paints are a little bit prettier if you let them dry naturally versus heating them up, especially if you're doing a loose technique. So I'm going to let that happen and let it dry, and then we'll come back. Maybe we'll use some white, and I think we'll definitely use some black, and we'll see if we can pull this together into something that doesn't look like it came from the Dollar Tree. right, here we are. Can you see that spot right there? I dabbed at a puddle because I was impatient, and it lifted it all off the paper. So be patient, let the paint dry, let it do its thing. You will get better results and you will be happier. Now, I'm not that upset with what I've got going on here. Keep in mind my expectations are very low because these are very inexpensive paints. But what I want to do now is, I feel like everything is kind of like one value, meaning I don't have a lot of contrast. So I have mixed up some of the red and blue. So I've got this this dusky purple here, kind of like what I started with. And now I'm going to go in and I am going to kind of add some detail to this flower here. I'm using my liner brush because I can carry a lot of juicy paint. I'm really going to keep this minimalist. You know, I'm going to keep this, maybe I'll even zoom in a little bit here. Scoot that over a bit. There we go. I want to keep it just kind of a light. And you know, no matter what paint you're using, if you're using like Cotman or Van Gogh or any of the like the budget paints, you're gonna get very similar results. You'll probably get better results because those paints will be better than these. Now here's another technique. You can just kind of like make a big bead or puddle of color, define the edge of that flower center a little bit, and then I'm gonna drag. I'm gonna turn this around so I can pull the stroke towards me. Please excuse my buzzing phone. I'm just going to drag that with the contours of the petal. I don't want to cover everything up because I kind of like how those colors were blending together. Yeah, I like that. Now I feel like that gives a little bit more definition. Now if I want to give even more strong contrast, I can take a little bit of the black, the watery black, and just kind of dab it a few places next to the wet paint and just let it do its thing. Let it do its thing. Don't dab at it. Don't fuss with it. Just leave it be. For the love of God, leave the painting be. Alright, we're gonna mix up a little brown. I'm mixing our primary colors yet. Dip into the yellow last. That's bright. That's real bright. Don't dip into the yellow first. I'm going to dab in some brown in the center just to give it a little texture. That's kind of pretty. And I think I'll do some with some green as well. I've got some on my palette. Hopefully it's got enough color in it to show up yet. Okay. I think I might want to put a couple little like leaves around that focal flower since that's kind of in the middle and kind of, let's use that brush, because that brush is a little too big. That brush might be a little too, let me just see, will I be able to? I think I can do that. Alright, I'm going to mix up a little bit more greens, so I'm going to take yellow. You know, I think I'll grab in some of that color too, that kind of darker color that we made that had a little bit of black in it. That was a blue and black, I believe. This isn't going to be a lot of contrast, but I can get a few little leaves in there. Maybe I can thicken up some of the stems at the bottom of the bouquet as well. We can go in, oh, maybe just a little, water down some of the blue, add a little bit of blue tint to some of those flowers. Blue is so weak, it won't really do much. You can splash a little bit of that on. And let's see, I wonder what that orange would look like with some black in it. I'm going to try mixing those together. It kind of gives me like an autumn rusty color. Doesn't really show up too much. I'm not like really going to try to layer too much here because it's just going to lift up what I have underneath if I get too, if I fuss with it too much. So I'm just kind of giving it a little bit of a mid-tone. Now I'm going to take that same color, I'm going to pick up some blue. Blue and orange are opposites, so they'll darken and neutralize. And I'm going to try adding just a little bit of the blue around some of the blue flowers. Alright, I can add a little bit into some of these leaves if I want to. There's a certain gelatinous quality to these. I don't want to do too much or it's going to make it kind of fussy looking, I think. Alright, I'm going to let this layer dry, and I think that's all I'm going to do to this layer. Maybe just a little bit of the darker green right underneath that tie, and maybe just a little bit of a lighter bit of orange on top of the threads there. I'm going to let this layer dry, and then I think we'll go in next with black, and then maybe even white at the end if we need to lighten things up. Okay guys, I had a think, and I decided that I would give my pens a try. I thought this might be kind of fun to use a dip pen, except I'm not going to mix up more paint because that would just be wasteful. I am going to just liquefy this black really well till it's an inky consistency, and I'm going to use a paintbrush to load up. I'm going to try the glass pen. I've never had great luck with glass pens, so I figured why not give it a shot with these, right? Because I'm not like expecting much, so I won't get frustrated. And what I'm doing, because I don't have a big inkwell to dip it into, I am just going to load up the barrel here with the paint, and hopefully it will feed down smoothly. It's not too watery. I'd say it's like the consistency of like half and half coffee creamer type consistency. And I guess and if this doesn't work, then I'll just try to clean off whatever ink I have on this or paint I have on this and go with the dip pen. Stuff is pretty dry here, and like I mentioned, oh my. Yeah, I don't think this is going to work out for me. Oh, abort. Abort, abort, abort. Okay, we're going to go with the dip pen. Okay, we're going to quickly load this up because now I have big blobs of black on my painting. The humanity. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this again. I have no idea. Now a child is calling my name. Hold on a second. I'll be back in a moment. Alright, what a bad time for a child to come down looking for a ride. But hopefully my husband can handle that. Because if I don't get these blobs sorted out, we're going to have problems. If we don't already. Oh, it would be such a shame to have to abort this so close to the end when it was... Actually, this is not working. I don't think I have my paint thinned down enough. And... ooh, I don't know, guys. I should have just used ink probably, but I wanted to stick with what I had going here. Oh, man. I don't know. Oh, this is unpleasant. This is very unpleasant. I don't like the feeling or the sound of this. I think I might just go back to the liner brush. Yep, this is not... that's not good. We're going to go with a liner brush because this is just not working, and I feel like I have ruined the focal point, which is not a good feeling, guys. And my liner brush isn't really fine enough for the work I want to do, but I am just going to go with it. I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to hope that Jason can give them a ride, and I don't have to pause this again midway through. Okay, well this is, I think we're gonna be all right. Guys, I think we have averted tragedy. I think we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it after all. Okay, I think this is gonna be all right. That was a close one, guys. A little closer than I like to have it. If I hear footsteps running down the stairs, I'm gonna have to abandon ship, but it's actually school vacation week, so not that it really feels that different in a pandemic because the kids are home every day, but they don't have classes, so times where I would be filming. Oh, that's too thick. I don't even know what these little flowers are, but I'm just defining my shapes and calling it good. Maybe little snapdragons or something. I found it challenging to film last year or so. Well, we went from like construction of our addition, which was very loud, to kids being home from school with a pandemic, which is pretty loud, and trying to film online classes, which is very difficult to get enough quiet time. Oh, I don't know if I like that. Oh, why did I shouldn't have. I regret outlining the orange flowers. That was unfortunate. But maybe when they dry, they'll be a little bit duller. I think, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll do black and that green color. So I have just a little bit of a softer look on the stems, because I feel like the leaves also need something. Maybe it's going to be cartoony looking when I'm done. I don't think I like that. I don't know. It's too late now, but it's Dollar Tree paint. It's not going to, you know, hey, I don't have to worry about the legacy of this painting because it's probably going to fade, because I would not expect a $1 paints to be light fast. So we're just going to roll with it. We're going to see how it goes. I can't imagine this video is going to prompt anybody to buy those paints. I don't know. I guess if you want something that you are not going to stress about wasting. I don't even know what I was doing there. If that was is it a flower? Is it a leaf? Is it a plane? Is it a train? Is it Superman? I have no clue. We're just going to let it be hazy, atmospheric shapes. Okay. Okay. You know, hey, it's fine. I'm going to now, oh, maybe take a little bit of blue and that blackish mix. Add some of that into the stems, maybe. I'm not sure about this, guys, but I'm going to keep on trucking. Now I'm going to do the same thing with white, except I'm going to be highlighting. Oh, I should have cleaned my brush. Well, I don't even know if the liner is going to be the best brush for this, but I'm just going to go through anything that needs to be brightened up, because we had so much mid value that we had to add some darks, and now I'm just trying to see if lights will help anything. I did swatch out that white on top of the black swatch just to see if it was at all opaque. It is a little bit. It's not going to be, especially on these lighter colors, super contrasty, but I think that it will work. I think it'll be fine. I think I'll also do some white spatters, because I like the look of white spatters on things. I think this is going to be fine. I'm not going to put much more time and effort into it, though, because I think the more you do to it, the more it'll get overworked and the less good it will look. I'm just going to add some fresh water from a spray bottle into my white palette here and just kind of add some white spatters. Now I could take the white. I could do some, let's try some pink maybe. Let's do, because I'm done with these colors, so maybe even a little bit of this. Let's try this. This might be nice. Around the edges maybe. Help carry that color, because I do have that focal point right smack down in the middle, which isn't really the best. And if I can bring some of that color out around the edges, I think that will be helpful. Now again, let's do the spray bottle so we don't contaminate it. I want some really big splats though. And no, you don't have to do this. I know this is not everybody's favorite. If you get too much blotted off, that might be a bit too much. Another thing you can do is just kind of like spritz it off. Oh, I kind of like that. You don't have to be afraid because you're not wasting really expensive stuff. Oh, I kind of like that. Now I kind of want to add a little bit of, maybe a little bit of yellow. This has actually been kind of fun because it's been very intuitive. Add a little bit of that. I'll warm it up a little bit. Make it a little bit like a yellow ochre in this mud in the middle. It's only mud if you don't want it. Otherwise it's neutralized. Be gentle though, because that paint's going to lift right off of there if you're not careful. And I'm on a block. This is an inexpensive block though. It's a, actually came in a Smart Art box, I think. It's the, oh shoot, I'll look at it in a second. It's by Handamule. I like their paper a lot. This one is not my favorite. I like their Cezanne an awful lot, and their Expression I like too, but their Cezanne I think is my favorite. It's very similar to Arches, and it doesn't have a gelatin sizing, so if you were trying to avoid gelatin in your paper, that's a nice alternative. Okay, I kind of want to spray right there. I don't want to like disturb too much, but I do like the look of the color just kind of floating around on me. And maybe a little bit of spattering into the wet. Oh, I like that. It reminds me of like stationery, you know? Like if you were to buy some note cards or something. Wildflower design. All right, I think that's, I kind of like the look of that. Let's zoom it out a little bit. You can see, sorry about the camera jiggle. Oh my gosh, this is wet. Goodness, let's look at what this is called. This is Handamule Harmony paper. I completely soaked the front of that. So if you blot any of this, it'll give you texture, which you may or may not like. Because it's going to lift up what you have underneath. Now, there is kind of some texture happening in here because the paints we've really diluted them. They're kind of you know, they have a lot of filler in them, so you do get this kind of little bit of a gritty texture. It doesn't bother me. It's because you've thinned it out so much, you're just kind of seeing the little bitty particles of pigment and filler and chalk in there, but I think it's all right. I actually like it quite a bit, and I'm just seeing if there's anything I want to add a white highlight to. Yeah, I think I'm pretty well set. I'm gonna let this dry, and I will insert a picture of the dried painting on screen so you can see how it looks. I know this is kind of a long video for Dollar Tree paints, but use what you have, right? Use what you have, because I bet any watercolors you have in your stash are probably better quality than these. These are fun to use. If you see them and you want to play around for a buck, why not? I think they're worth that. But I probably wouldn't go seek them out, you know, if you have watercolors already. They were fun, but mine are going to go in my donation box to my friend with a preschool, I think, especially since they say they're non-toxic. But it was a fun experiment nevertheless. Thank you for those that asked me to try out the Dollar Tree watercolors. It was definitely a fun way to spend an hour or so. Thanks for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoy these Dollar Tree projects. Until next time, happy crafting.